Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Green Room Podcast. I'm Matthew Brunin. Joining me once again is Colin Mitchell, who just got done partying the night away. It
Did
is
not party at
1:30
all.
a.m.
Did not party at all.
What would you say that you did then?
I sat and watched UFC fights.
Hey,
I had some pizza, and
did you
I
watch the
had
football game too?
no. I just kept up with that on my phone. I don't think my heart would take a Packers win because then I'd have to buy tickets to the Detroit game, and yeah,
This is what Colin was debating the whole time: was will he go to the Lions game if the Packers win? Because then it would be in Detroit.
because I mean, I had everything in the cart: the flights, the hotel, and the tickets for tomorrow's game. But I was like, listen, it's the divisional game. They'll probably get back to one of those. But an NFC championship,
Yeah,
that's little against the Packers, no less. Like this isn't like
Yeah.
this is a rivalry. Like that place would be crazy. I might
yeah.
hate myself for that game.
Yeah, so that's what Colin was debating, going back to Detroit. Meanwhile, I was, sitting at home watching basketball all day. Just played some Madden, and so now
Mhm.
here we are, 1:30 a.m., talking North Texas basketball as always. We're not gonna talk football on this podcast, so I don't know. I'll probably just upload it to the I guess second channel, the Green Room channel on audio feeds. But anyways. North Texas loses to Charlotte 56-44. I do feel like we should preface this by saying North Texas beat East Carolina 60-59. And so if we want to start with the happy days, Colin, we
Sure,
can go back in time
we can
and talk
start.
about the East Carolina game real quickly because we didn't even plan to talk about that initially. But to get that win on the road on Wednesday by an incredible pass from Aaron Scott to Allen, who caught it, finished, 2 seconds left on the clock, and wins them the game. That was one of the more incredible finishes that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, that game from the get go was crazy. I mean, it was a battle. I wasn't sure what was the over under on points. It had to have been low. I always know you look at that stuff, but it wasn't like the games before where North Texas was scoring 68 points,
Yeah.
70 points. Points were hard to come by both teams. And then for the way it ended, man, I mean, you and I were texting back and forth. We're like, oh, made shot, good. And then they made that. I forgot who won Florida Gulf Coast. Whoever it was made that tough jumper, and it was great
East Carolina.
defense.
Yeah.
Or East Carolina, sorry. East Carolina made that tough jumper, and I was like, well, that's it. And
Yep.
then Aaron Scott with the QB throw to Robert Allen, and that was just, it was beautiful.
It was
It was
beautiful.
beautiful.
The thing about that game and why I do not feel bad in the slightest is because North Texas wins that game 8 times out of 10 just based off of the quality of the offenses ran. I'm not saying North Texas ran great offense or anything like that, but ECU couldn't do anything.
No.
ECU was chucking up shots from 20 feet, 30 feet, banking shots in. Obviously, the shot that gave them the lead at the end. I didn't think ECU did anything crazy. They were getting to the free throw line 18 times. But ultimately, I didn't think East Carolina was really, really giving North Texas a ton of fits. And so that's what made it painful is that North Texas was down 16-4 to start the game, was up at halftime. ECU comes out in the second half, retakes the lead. And then it was like, all right, North Texas should win this.
Yeah.
And they never really, you never felt comfortable. And then you thought they were just going to lose. But then the thing about that play is it reminded me so much of the Tyler Perry plays where it was just like, you don't expect it to happen, but it just happens.
It does
Like
anyways, yeah.
his shot over UAB, his shots against Louisiana Tech and stuff. And you're like, surely they can't get away with this. And then
Yeah.
they do. And they
Yeah.
win the game. It was
Yeah.
it was another great shot in the history of great shots in the Grant McCassin and Ross Hodge era. Like the past 7 years, we've been spoiled with great game winners and great plays that have won games, and that was another one.
Speaking of winning, that game brought them to 4-0 in conference, and for the conference lead, basically. I mean, Charlotte, you could say, is tied, but they had one loss because they played an extra game. So, I mean, I don't think anybody would have thought with these two injuries that you go 4-0 to start conference play.
Yeah, I agree. And we said going into it, it was like, all right, it would be great if they were 5-0 before the SMU game and the
Mhm.
FAU games. Like it would be great, but is it realistic? No. The Tulane win was great. Wichita State on the road to start
And
off.
mind
I
you,
was
that was
fan.
before the Rubin and Bugs injuries. We said that.
Well, the Rubin injury. What was the last game Rubin played?
Rubin played 3 games ago.
Wichita.
Bugs missed the first.
Okay, yeah.
Rubin played
Rubin played
Tulane.
Wichita. Yeah, Rubin got hurt during Wichita. I remember that. What's the last game Bugs played?
No, it was wasn't it Tulane?
No, it was Wichita. Because I remember thinking they were going to lose to Tulane because they didn't have either one. Yeah, Bugs did. Last game was against Shreveport, so they played only one game. The first game with Rubin and none of the games with Bugs. But yeah, your point is still valid. It's like we
Yeah.
thought would lose to Tulane or lose to Wichita State or Charlotte, and to start 4-1. And I have like a bigger point to talk about, but like to start 4-1 sets them up to be competitive with the rest of the conference. And I
Yeah.
wasn't sure exactly how North Texas would fare with the rest of the conference because obviously we don't know everything about ECU and Temple, Tulane, and Wichita State. Right? We know about Charlotte. We knew Charlotte plays slow. We know they're a tough team. We know Charlotte's beaten them in Charlotte multiple times in the past. Like we know about UTSA, Rice, so on and so forth. But these new teams, we weren't sure how it was going to go. They go 4-0 in that stretch.
Yeah.
Now flip to the Charlotte game, and this was one I went into saying I don't think they were going to win this game. I didn't think they were going to win this game. I thought this was going to be the one that trips them up. Charlotte was very, very excited to play this game, both the team and the crowd and the school.
Mhm.
I think Charlotte in general has a good play style for to face North Texas, kind of similar to those like Louisiana Tech teams in a way, to where they can handle North Texas' pace of play and their defense a little bit better. You can't really speed them up. And so I think back in the day, I think North Texas was able to win those games with like, Javion and Zach Simmons and whatnot. Uh, when this North Texas team that's kind of built around its wings a little bit more, obviously Jason Edwards too, but like without Rubin and without Bugs, I didn't see the offensive firepower sustaining the way that it had been playing out in the first 4 games.
Well, I mean, even against East Carolina, they weren't really that
Yeah.
great. I mean, they struggled offensively throughout that game. I believe they shot. Let's see, they shot 40% from the field, and they shot 5 of 24 from 3. Like
Yeah.
clearly the legs were getting tired on these guys. I mean, Jason Edwards 39 minutes. This is against East Carolina, by the way. Aaron Scott 37 minutes. CJ Nolan 34 minutes. Like that's going to affect you. And going to the Charlotte game, you and I both said, when is this team going to start to get tired? And I think it clearly showed. I mean, Jason Edwards 0 of 8 from 3, 1 of 17 from 3 as a team. You make 5 of those threes, that's a completely different ball game. And the fact that they were in down 8 with like 3 minutes to go was amazing to me because they couldn't buy a bucket.
Yeah.
And not only that, you have to play Matthew Stone a lot of minutes. And not to say, Matthew Stone's really awful and can't make some plays on the defensive end, but you're playing 4v5 on offense. And that's not the reason why they weren't scoring on offense. It's just they couldn't make shots. They clearly looked like they didn't have the legs to make shots.
And I think, like, imagine this team with Rubin and with Bugs.
Yeah.
It's a completely different game. Jason Edwards had a 38% usage percentage in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally everything was going through him. And I think Aaron was fine, right? 13 points. But like he can't take over in the way that Edwards can. Even though we want him at times to do that. It was kind of a tough matchup, but yeah, I think you hit it on the head. At the end of the day, 4 wins, and it felt like after the Wichita win, which was convincing, the Tulane win, which was convincing, you started to see like, all right, moments of them just not being able to score, not being able to move offensively. It kind of felt like how the end of non-conference felt, where they were just kind of trying to get to the finish line. This is the same type of thing, except they're not even close to the finish line. And to me, the finish line for this team right now is getting Rubin and Bugs back, because when they get back, that's a completely different team. That's a different
Oh yeah.
view on life.
I mean, for example, in tonight's game, or I guess today's game, you're not going to have Jason. He can take 18 shots a game, but you don't have to force him to take 18 shots a game. Against Eastern Carolina, you had CJ Nolan taking 14 shots. Aaron Scott took 14 shots. Jason Edwards took 17 shots. Then you got guys like Stone Sissoko, Rondell Walker, and Robert Allen, each taking basically 3 each, except Rondell having 5. I mean, you were only this off. These wins weren't sustainable without Rubin and Bugs, and they won't be moving forward. Like if you don't have Rubin against SMU, unless you pull up the defensive performance of your life, you're not going to be able to. You're probably not going to be able to score during that game unless Jason Edwards goes just ballistic. You need those guys back to win games in this conference. But that's why I'm not worried about this team. I mean, like you said, this team looked like the team in non-conference. The difference is you're missing 2 players and arguably 2 starters, depending on where you want to put Bugs.
Yeah.
And with them back, they don't go 1 of 17 from 3 tonight.
Yeah.
You probably win that game tonight. It'll be a tough game, but you probably win the game tonight.
Yeah. So the thing is okay, the at-large bid was never a concern with me. They were never getting an at-large bid. We've gone through this before. The close losses, it doesn't matter how close you were to winning those games. They're not going to end up being resume wins because you didn't win the games. And the Fordham loss, knocks you down. The Mississippi State loss, whatever. At-large was never a priority. So as we look ahead, 5 games into conference with still 13 more games to go, to me, it was always, all right, you want to get right, have a really fun, competitive, good conference season where maybe you could win 12, 13 games and then peak hopefully at the tournament and try to make a run in the tournament, right? That was our goal going into the season, going into the conference season. Now, Colin, has it changed at all for you seeing FAU and Memphis lose and seeing that it feels a little bit more open at the top of the American than we maybe previously had thought? Because Memphis, even though they only have 1 loss, they've been pretty bad, right? UTSA,
yeah, I mean, they are great offensively, right? Memphis is insane, different level offensively, but on the defensive end, it's not there. If you play a team,
they're 9th in the conference in defensive rating right now on KenPom.
Yeah,
in conference games.
Yeah, and if you play a North Texas team that slows you down and gets you uncomfortable, I don't see why. Like Memphis going into the season, I was like, okay, they're might be unbeatable.
Yep.
Like I'm not sure that North Texas can pull it out. I'm not sure that North Texas fully healthy. It might be like a pick 'em with the way that Memphis has played thus far. But to answer your point on the expectation, I think it was wide open. I mean, I think it still is wide open. Charlotte's leading the conference right now with 5 wins, 5-1 in conference. North Texas is second at 4-1. It tied for second, obviously, but I think everybody has a chance right now at the top.
Charlotte, FAU, SMU, Memphis, North Texas, and UAB. Well, heck, and USF all have 1 loss right now. What is that? 6 teams that only have 1 loss. I don't think UAB and USF are quite at that level. USF, I mean, heck, USF just beat Memphis, so what do I know, right? But Rice and Temple were the other 2 wins for them. But I asked that because if North Texas can get healthy, and we know they have SMU once, they have Memphis twice. They have Memphis once.
Yeah.
I know they have FAU twice, and SMU. I lost it. I lost the schedule. Sorry. SMU twice, Memphis once, FAU twice. So we know the schedule is not easy, but like it looks like 14-4 could be at least tied for first in the conference.
Yeah.
And at that point you raise a banner, right? If you tied for the conference championship, we're hanging a banner for winning the regular season title again, and you will be able to say first year under Ross Hodge, you go 14-4 in conference and you raise a banner. Like that's a huge deal. And that's something I didn't think was going to be attainable this year, because I thought Memphis or FAU would go 16-2 and just walk, to a championship. I think FAU has been incredibly inconsistent this year. I don't think I know, right? I've watched them in games. Watched them lose to Florida Gulf Coast. Obviously, we know Charlotte's a good team, but they've been pushed. Arguably should have lost to Tulane. right?
Yeah.
On that play. Memphis has been shaky. Honestly, like, I mean, Charlotte beat Rice in overtime. I watched some of that game. They weren't that impressive. So what I'm trying to say is 14-4 might win you the conference. But should we set expectation, or not expectation, should we even set that goal for this team since we don't know what Rubin and Bugs, like, their status is?
I think it 100% depends on Rubin and Bugs, obviously. Like, if these turn into long-term injuries, like, they got that slate up. It's SMU. They got the hard
SMU.
slate up, but I wanted to get in order.
Here's the next. Well, heck,
Give me the next
SMU and
4.
FAU,
Yeah.
SMU, FAU, UAB, and USF all
Yeah.
have one loss. Those are the next 4 games.
Yeah. So here's the thing with those 4 games. If you don't have Rubin or Bugs back in those next 4 games, you're going to have to fight SMU and FAU, and then 2 tough teams. You might, without Rubin and Bugs and a tired team, you could go 1-3 in that stretch.
Yeah.
So their health obviously makes a big difference, but I mean, up to this point, they've shown they still can win with these players without Rubin and Bugs. And I think Ross up to this point has, I mean, this has been a phenomenal coaching job
Oh
these
my
last 2
gosh.
games. Like you said, after Rubin went down against Wichita State, we're like, oh no, Tulane.
Yeah.
And they've shocked the two teams that haven't seen them ever before in conference. And then you play Charlotte, and obviously they've seen North Texas before, but you play them close. I mean, relatively, right? Like, you can't go 1-17 from 3.
Yeah.
But you make a couple more shots and a couple more shots fall that should have fallen, and you're in that game. So there's no reason saying that they can't be in these next 4 games without Rubin and Bugs. But I'm going to err on the side of that's not going to happen with what I saw tonight in terms of how tired they were.
Yeah. If we do want to say, because it's fun, right? It's fun to say, all right, maybe they can win it. Maybe they can win the conference at this point with how open it appears to be. But I'm hesitant. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to get ahead because we don't even know what this team is going to look like against SMU and FAU. And frankly, if you don't win at least one of those 2 games, you're not going to be in the picture.
Well, I think a better expectation without knowing the timeline of when those 2 are going to come back is what you want to see. And it's really far what you want to see in the conference tournament. So what can you learn in these conference games without them, and then with them, however long you have them, to be in the conference tournament?
Isn't it the thing we talked about earlier when this first happened was starting Jason Edwards?
Yeah.
Like this kind of unlocked Jason Edwards, and
Yeah,
he hasn't
for
been
sure.
super efficient.
Well, what we've learned from this team is 2 things. 1, Jason Edwards, yes, we said we should plug him in. 2, I think CJ Nolan has stepped up.
Yeah.
In his role a lot. I mean, like I said, he had 14 shots against Eastern Carolina. He shot however many times tonight. But the big thing though is that he's not turning the ball over like he was early and being careless. I think he's kind of settled down a little bit and actually shown that he can have the ball in his hands for longer periods of time and longer stretches. And he's able to score. I mean, the fact that he's getting those push shots inside in the paint,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And so you're helping guys grow without them. And then I think that helps prime you as long as you get Rubin and Bugs back in time for what you hope is a good conference tournament run. So if you don't want to put regular season expectations, I think we should put not expectations, but what you want to see from this team without Rubin and Bugs.
Yeah.
In conference.
CJ Nolan's also been good against the free throw line in conference play. The assists are kind of there. Yeah, I think he's been one of the, like you said, one of the revelations. Him, Jason Edwards. The 5 position is still between Allen Sissoko. Nothing new there. Matthew Stone is what he is at this point. We don't need to beat a dead horse. And yeah, you don't like that's 7 right there. And then you add Rubin and Bugs back. You have 9 players that I don't like. If Matt Stone's your 9th best player, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
In the American, right? Like, I don't think he's great, but that's pretty good. And whoever their 8th man is, in theory, like, is it Rondell Walker?
I don't know. I mean, he plays a lot of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, but we don't know what the rotations look like if you add.
That's true.
Bugs back. Maybe Bugs is the 8th. Like, regardless of who the 8th is, I'm saying it's a really, really good player.
For the American. It's a player that can play. Like, they have a skill that is 100% usable on the court for a long period of time.
Yeah, and you don't have to play these guys 38 minutes a game anymore.
Yeah.
I do agree with you to touch on it one more time. Ross Hodge, I could not have this conference play. This not the non-conference was the non-conference, but we saw that under Graham McCasland, right? We've
Yeah.
seen that happen before, plenty of times. And now in conference, you see them take it to another level and start 4-1. If you told me going into the year they were going to start conference 4-1, I say okay.
If you told me after the LSU loss that they were going to go 4-1 and
After the
Fordham
loss.
well, I just mean we were low after that too. Obviously,
Yeah.
LSU's kind of come up a bit, but Fordham, yeah, I mean, same thing. Yeah, I mean, what he's been able to do defensively with this team,
Yeah.
and how long they've had to play, it's actually insane. You're still the third best scoring defense in the country.
Yep.
So
Top 30th in the country on KenPom in defense. SMU, for those wondering, is 16th in the country on defense.
yeah,
It's just FAU's 11th in the country on offense. Like, this is just going to be. This conference is really, really good.
well, the Americans, probably like I could be wrong on this. Probably the sixth best basketball conference.
No, you're missing some.
Am I?
Yeah, you're missing some. Big 12, Big East, SEC, Big 10, ACC, Pac-12.
Oh, Pac-12.
It's the top 6. Mountain West is.
It's between the Mountain West and the American. Right now, I'd give it to the Mountain West. So we'll say 8, 7,
7, 8, 10, 9. Yeah, 8. So yeah, but again, that's really good. All right, I think that's it, right? So do you want to predict real quick? Yeah. Well, I can't predict SMU and FAU because I don't know who's playing. I will say it's nice playing SMU at home.
That is cool.
That's good.
That's
then you play FAU on the road, and FAU's road environment is a lot better than it was like 3 years ago. When I remember Mo Gibson like going crazy against them like 3 years ago for some reason, and watching that at your house. I don't remember the situation, but yeah,
against SMU, if you don't have Rubin and Bugs, I mean it's going to be.
You're going to have to drive. That SMU game has to be like first to 40.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Yeah,
and I thought the Charlotte game was going to be like that. If we're being honest,
I mean, it basically was 56 to 44. So
yeah, but I mean, I don't think you shoot 1 of 17 again.
Yeah,
you definitely don't shoot. Yeah, I mean, it's 6% from 3. That doesn't happen again, especially at home. The big thing for me though is, can you slow down SMU? They have a defense, and they have athletes on the other end. So, what do you think? With assuming Bugs and Rubin don't play.
If they don't play for this one, I'm getting really concerned. Big picture wise.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is, at this point, it will have been, for Bugs, it will have been over 3 weeks since the Shreveport game.
And Rubin SMU will be 3
Rubin,
weeks.
it'll be exactly 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I know hamstrings are tricky. But yeah, that's, if we can get him out there for 12 minutes, and that would be big. But yeah, I'd start being concerned. I don't think they should be favored in either game if they're not playing.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I don't think they'll be favored. I think my idea going to SMU is
SMU is a lot more winnable than FAU if they're not playing.
Yes, I agree.
And I know FAU is incredibly inconsistent. Last year, North Texas arguably should have beat them like twice. Remember those games, like 48 to 46, where they're like they can win it. They just gotta make one shot, and they could never do it. But yeah, so I think the SMU game is more winnable, but it still would be tough. And then UAB and USF, we'll cross those bridges when we get there. Honestly, if they beat SMU, we could just do a standalone podcast on that, because then they play Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, so 2 days between.
Yeah,
they play Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday are the next 4 games. So it's like 2 games between each one.
Listen, 40 minutes per game basically for Jason's going to be tough during that stretch if he has to play that long.
So they got to play 4 games in 12 days, basically.
Yeah,
if my math is right. But anyways, all right, that's it. No football to talk about today, just a basketball pod. And yeah, I would sit here and talk with you, Colin. I really would, but it's 2 a.m. And
oh yeah, I'll be up for a little bit longer. So
I know you will be. Colin painted his living room at 3 a.m. the other day.
I did. I was up till 6 a.m. I
Y'all
didn't. I was done painting before then, but I was up till 6 that day. Yeah.
pray for my boy Colin, man. Pray for my guy Colin because I don't know what the life expectancy is if a man staying up till 6 a.m.
It's just it is what it is.
I'm worried about you, Colin. I'm worried.
Yeah. What's crazy is I don't even drink Red Bulls like past like 3 p.m. It's just to keep me awake in the morning.
I think the job going from 2 to 10
Yeah, it's tough.
changes so much, and it's
Yeah.
just like, all right, well,
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do, right? What are you gonna do?
I got a house now, Bruni. I gotta pay for it.
I'm not saying quit your job.
Can't be living on the streets.
I'm not saying to quit your job. I'm just worried. Just worried. All right, that's it. All right, that's all we got for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't already. Thank you all for 300 subs. Thank you all for what do we got on Twitter is a better question.
We're almost to 500. I would love to hit 500.
That's more reasonable. 485 on Twitter. So shout out to y'all.
Honestly, if we beat SMU, we have to hit 500. We're at 303 now on YouTube though, which is kind of cool.
We need Colin is we need your graphics to return.
Those take a lot of work, and I'm not good at them anymore. Not only that, I don't have a Mac or my tablet to draw. I used to have that graphics tablet. So
we need the player of the week to come back. Remember those?
Yeah, it'd be. I don't even know. Like, who would it be this week? You go like
Jason Edwards, and it's like 28% from the field.
Yeah. Not a shot at you, Jason. I know you got a lot on your plate. But...
No, Jason, we love you. We love you, and you've been really good for this team. It's just you got to shoot every time down the court. And we're
5 of 18 and 7 of 17, so like 30 and some change, and then it'd be like 0 of 8 from 3 this game and 1 of 6 last game. So one of 14 the last 2 games.
But then in parentheses, be like, but 62% of his shots were at the shot clock with 3 or less.
Yeah.
And he's just chucking
all these qualifiers.
Yeah, just chucking them up either hand.
And some of those layups he had today were so good, and they just didn't.
Yeah,
too strong or just didn't go in. So
yeah. All right, guys. We will talk to y'all later. Go Lions.
Go Lions.
Go Lions.
Go Lions.